The moment I saw my name written on a sticky note next to the trash bin at my brother's engagement dinner, something inside me finally snapped. 34 years of being the invisible son, the backup plan, the walking ATM, it all came crashing down in that single humiliating moment. Let me back up. My name is Henry, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the responsible one in my family. While my younger brother Mason got the attention, the praise, and the unconditional support, I got the bills, the emergencies, and the late-night calls asking for money. But that night at Romano's, the upscale Italian restaurant where Mason chose to celebrate his engagement to Brooke, everything changed. I'd arrived 15 minutes early, as usual. The hostess smiled warmly when I gave her the reservation name. My reservation, by the way, made with my credit card for the deposit. "Right this way, Mr. Chen," she said, leading me to our private dining room. The space was beautiful. Exposed brick walls, soft lighting, a long mahogany table set for 12. I chose a seat near the middle, figuring I'd save the head of the table for Mason and his fiancée. As I waited, I thought about how things had always been. Growing up, Mason was the golden child. Star athlete in high school, popular with everyone, the son who could do no wrong. Me? I was the quiet one who got straight A's but never got the same gleaming approval in our parents' eyes. When Mason dropped out of college to find himself, our parents called it brave. When I graduated summa cum laude and landed a job at a tech firm, they said, "That's nice, Henry." When are you getting married? When Mason's business ventures failed, all three of them, Dad said he was learning valuable life lessons. When I got promoted to senior developer, Mom asked if I could help Mason with his rent. The door burst open, and in walked Mason with Brooke on his arm, followed by her parents, our parents, and a few other relatives. Mason looked good. He always did. That easy smile, the confident walk, the way he commanded attention just by existing. Brooke was stunning in a red dress, her diamond engagement ring catching the light. "Henry!" Mason called out with that particular tone that meant he needed something. Perfect timing, bro. "Hey, we need to rearrange the seating a bit." I stood up, expecting maybe to move down a few seats, but then Mason started directing everyone to their places, and I noticed something odd. Every seat was filling up except for one spot, right at the far end of the table, practically in the corner, where someone had placed a folding chair, not even one of the nice restaurant chairs, right next to where the busboy had positioned the trash bin for clearing plates. "Mason," I said, trying to keep my voice level, "where exactly am I supposed to sit?" He barely glanced at me, busy helping Brooke's mother with her chair. "Oh, we're doing family only at the main table. You can grab that spot over there." He gestured vaguely toward the folding chair. Family only. The words hung in the air like a slap. I watched as my cousins Jake and Rita took their seats, as Mason's college roommate Brad sat down, as Brooke's sister's boyfriend, whom she'd been dating for all of 3 months, pulled out a chair at the main table. "I'm not family." The words came out quieter than I intended. Mason finally looked at me, and there was something in his eyes, not quite cruelty, but a complete absence of consideration, like I was a piece of furniture he needed to move out of the way. "Come on, Henry, don't make this weird. It's just how the seating worked out." I looked at our mother. She was busy admiring Brooke's ring. I looked at our father. He was deep in conversation with Brooke's dad about golf. Not one person at that table was looking at me except Mason, and his expression was growing impatient. So I walked to the folding chair, I sat down next to the trash bin, and I watched my family, my entire family, celebrate without me from my spot in exile. The waiters came and went, barely noticing me in my corner. When they brought the appetizers, Mason raised his glass for a toast. "To family," he said, his voice carrying across the room. "To the people who matter most." Everyone clinked glasses. I raised my water glass alone in the corner and took a sip. Brooke's father was talking about their family tradition of Sunday dinners. "Family is everything," he said. "It's about showing up for each other, being there through thick and thin." Mom chimed in. "Oh, we absolutely agree. Mason has always been such a family-oriented person. He's always put family first." I almost choked on my water. Mason? The same Mason who hadn't attended a single family function unless he needed money? The Mason who forgot Mom's birthday 3 years running but remembered it this year when he needed a cosigner for his car loan? The conversation flowed around the table. Wedding plans, honeymoon destinations, future children. They discussed venues and guest lists. At one point, Brooke's mother asked about the wedding party. "And of course, Henry will be the best man," she said, glancing around. There was an awkward pause. Mason laughed. "We're still figuring all that out. Probably going to go with Brad here." He clapped his college roommate on the shoulder. The dinner continued, course after course of incredible food that turned to ash in my mouth. I sat there, invisible, watching my family laugh and celebrate. The busboy kept coming over to empty the trash bin next to me, apologizing each time. "Sorry, sir. Excuse me, sir." Even the restaurant staff seemed embarrassed by my placement. It was during the main course that I finally let myself think about everything I'd done for this family. The time I paid for Mom's surgery when Dad's insurance wouldn't cover it. The apartment I'd helped Mason keep when he was between jobs, all 6 times. The family vacations I'd funded but couldn't attend because I was working to pay for them. The emergency loans that were never repaid. The bail money that one time Mason got arrested for drunk and disorderly conduct. The credit card I'd given him for emergencies that he'd maxed out on designer clothes. I pulled out my phone and did a quick calculation. Over the past 10 years, I'd given my family, mostly Mason, close to $200,000. Not loans, gifts. Because that's what family does. The irony wasn't lost on me that I was sitting in a corner next to garbage while they toasted to family values at a dinner I was paying for. Dessert arrived, an elaborate chocolate souffle that the waiter made a show of presenting. Mason stood up again, tapping his spoon against his glass. "I just want to say how grateful I am to have all of you here. Family means everything to me, and having you all here to celebrate this moment means the world." He went on about love and commitment, about building a future with Brooke, about the importance of family support. Not once did he look in my direction. Not once did anyone. That's when I made my decision. I stood up quietly and walked toward the door. Mason noticed the movement. Henry, where are you going? We haven't even gotten to the champagne. I turned back. The entire table was looking at me now, the first time all evening. I'm going home, I said simply. But the check hasn't come yet, Mason said, and there it was, the real reason I was here. No, I said, it hasn't. The confusion on his face was almost comical. But you made the reservation. I did. Under your card. Yes. So? I looked at him, then at the rest of the table. My parents were staring at me with a mixture of confusion and the beginning of embarrassment. Brooke's parents looked uncomfortable. The cousins were whispering to each other. So, I said, my voice carrying clearly across the room, since this is a family-only dinner, and I'm apparently not family, I'm sure you'll have no problem handling the family-only check. The silence was deafening. Mason's face went through several expressions: confusion, disbelief, then anger. Henry, stop being ridiculous. You know that's your card on file. And I'll be calling them to remove it as soon as I get to my car, I replied. I'm sure between all the family at the table, you can figure it out. Mom finally spoke up. Henry, dear, don't be dramatic. Come sit down. Where? I asked. In my seat by the trash? No, thank you. It's just a misunderstanding, Dad said, using his boardroom voice, the one that usually shut down any argument. Mason didn't mean anything by it. Of course he didn't, I said. Mason never means anything by it. Not when he forgot to invite me to his graduation party, but remembered to call me for rent money the next week. Not when he told Jennifer, remember Jennifer, Mason, and that I was just his boring brother and that's why I wasn't at your birthday dinner. Not when he cashed the check I gave him for his business emergency and used it for a vacation to Cabo. The table was frozen. Brooke was looking at Mason with an expression I couldn't quite read. Her parents were exchanging glances. That's not. Henry, come on, Mason started, but I cut him off. The reservation is under my name. The deposit is on my card. I'm canceling both now. You have about 10 minutes to figure out how you're paying for this family dinner before the restaurant asks you to leave. I pulled out my phone and dialed the restaurant's number. I had it saved from making the reservation. Yes, hello. This is Henry Chen. I have a reservation tonight for the private dining room. I need to cancel my card on file and cancel any future charges. Yes, immediately. Thank you. The manager appeared in the doorway within minutes, looking concerned. Is everything all right, Mr. Chen? I'm leaving, I said. The rest of the party will be handling the check. The manager looked at the table, then back at me. Of course, sir. Should I bring the check now? That's up to them, I said. Mason stood up, his face red. Henry, this is ridiculous. You're embarrassing yourself. No, I said, pulling on my coat. I'm done being embarrassed. I'm done sitting in corners. I'm done being the family ATM who isn't family enough to sit at the table. I walked out to the sound of chaos erupting behind me. Mason calling my name, Mom's sharp voice rising, the manager politely but firmly explaining that someone needed to provide payment. The last thing I heard was Brooke's father saying, if this is how you treat your own brother. In my car, I sat for a moment, hands shaking slightly. My phone was already exploding with texts and calls. I turned it off and drove home. The next morning, I woke up to 47 missed calls and even more texts. I made coffee and sat on my balcony, watching the sunrise before I finally looked at them. Mom, Henry, that was completely inappropriate. You humiliated us. Dad, we need to talk about your behavior last night. This isn't how we raised you. Mason, what the hell is wrong with you? Waited. Mason, you made me look like an idiot in front of Brooke's family. Mason, they had to call Brad's dad to come pay with his credit card. Mason, this is so messed up. Mason, you're my brother, how could you do this? There were more, from cousins, from aunts and uncles who hadn't even been there but had heard about it. The family group chat was on fire. I was called selfish, petty, vindictive, childish. Not one person asked why I'd been sitting by the trash. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I called my bank. Yes, I'd like to close a joint account. Yes, I understand both parties usually need to be present. It's actually my account that I added someone to. Yes, I have the account number. The account I'd opened for Mason 5 years ago when he was getting back on his feet and needed help managing money. The account I'd been depositing into monthly to help with his expenses. The account that still had about $5,000 in it. Can you tell me the recent transactions? I asked. The bank representative read them off. Restaurants, bars, clothing stores, electronics. I realized Mason had been living entirely off my deposits. His job that he talked about at family dinners? Either non-existent or barely paying anything. Close it and transfer the remaining balance to my personal account, please. Within an hour, Mason was calling repeatedly. I finally answered on the 10th call. Henry. What did you do? Be specific, Mason. What did I do? You closed the account. My rent check is going to bounce. Your rent check? I said. From your account? You know what I mean. The account you help with. The account I've been fully funding, you mean. There was silence on the other end. Then Mason's voice came back, different now. The tone he used when he wanted something. Look, Henry, I know last night got out of hand, but this is extreme. You're going to make me homeless over a seating arrangement? No, I said. I'm stopping enabling you over a lifetime of disrespect. The seating arrangement was just the final straw. Enable? Is that what you call helping family? Is family what you call me? Because last night you were very clear that I wasn't. That was just. Look, there were only so many seats at the main table. Mason, Brad's girlfriend's +1 who didn't even show up, had a place card at the main table. I was literally seated with the trash. You're being dramatic. No, I'm being done. Good luck with the rent. I hung up. The phone immediately rang again. This time it was Mom. Henry, you need to fix this. Fix what, exactly? This situation with Mason. He's your brother. Is he? Because last night I wasn't family enough to sit at the table, but now that bills need paying, suddenly I'm brother of the year? You're being petty. I'm being consistent. If I'm not family, then I don't have family obligations. If I am family, then I should be treated like it. You can't have it both ways. Henry. Her voice softened, taking on that tone she used when she wanted something. You know how Mason is. He doesn't think sometimes, but he loves you. No, Mom. He loves my money. There's a difference. That's a horrible thing to say. Is it? When was the last time Mason called me just to talk? When was the last time any of you did? Every call, every text, every interaction for the past 5 years has been about money. Henry, can you help with this? Henry, we're in a bind. Henry, just this once, except it's never just once. We're grateful for everything you do. Are you? Because gratitude would look like including me in family photos. Gratitude would be inviting me to Sunday dinners without needing something. Gratitude would be saving me a seat at the actual table at my brother's engagement dinner that I'm paying for. She was quiet for a moment. The dinner was $3,200. Mason doesn't have that kind of money. Then Mason shouldn't have booked a dinner he couldn't afford. Henry, please. Brooke's family already thinks poorly of us. And whose fault is that? The calls continued for days. Relatives I hadn't heard from in years suddenly remembered I existed. The narrative had already been spun. I had thrown a tantrum over a silly misunderstanding and left my poor brother with a bill that Brad's father had to cover. I was the villain who had ruined Mason's engagement dinner. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just blocked number after number. 3 days later, an unexpected call came through. It was Brooke. Henry, it's Brooke. Please don't hang up. I paused. What do you want? To apologize, and to talk, if you're willing. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her for coffee. She showed up looking tired, her engagement ring noticeably absent from her finger. Thank you for meeting me, she said, sitting down across from me. I wanted to tell you that what happened at the dinner was wrong. I didn't know about the seating until it was too late. And I should have said something. Why didn't you? She looked down at her coffee. Because I'm a coward, and because I was already having doubts about Mason, and I didn't want to cause a scene. Doubts? Henry, can I ask you something? The money stuff Mason always talked about, how you helped with his business, supported him when he was between jobs, that was all true? Every word. And the apartment? I've been paying half his rent for 3 years. Her face went pale. He told me he was a successful entrepreneur. He said he owned his apartment. He said, she trailed off. God, I'm such an idiot. You're not an idiot. Mason is very good at being who people want him to be. My father said something that night after you left. He said, if a family treats their own blood like that, what happens when you marry into it? And the more I thought about it, the more I realized he was right. Is that why you're not wearing your ring? She nodded. I called off the engagement yesterday. Mason was not happy. I can imagine. He actually said I was making a huge mistake, that you were just jealous and trying to sabotage him. But Henry, I watched him put you by the trash. I watched him literally seat you with the garbage and then toast to family. What kind of person does that? Brooke and I talked for 2 hours. She told me about the red flags she'd been ignoring, the expensive gifts Mason gave her that she now realized he couldn't afford, the stories that didn't quite add up, 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 the stories in everyone readers and the stating action. The way he always seemed to have an excuse for why he couldn't pay for things. He told me you were jealous of him, she said, that you were the successful one but bitter because he was the one everyone loved. He made it sound like you helping him financially was your way of maintaining control. And you believed him? At first, he's very convincing, but then I met you at family dinners, and you were nothing like he described. You were quiet, yes, but kind. And you never once brought up the money, even when he was bragging about his successes that I now know you were funding. My phone buzzed. Mason again, despite being blocked. He must have gotten a new number. He's been calling me nonstop too, Brooke said. First angry, then pleading, then angry again. It's like watching someone cycle through personalities. That's Mason. He'll be the victim next, then the hero who's been wronged, then back to anger. How did you stand it for so long? I thought about it, because they're my family, and for the longest time I thought that meant something. I thought if I just kept giving, eventually, they'd see me, value me. But you can't buy love, and you can't earn respect from people who are determined not to give it. Brooke left with apologies and thanks. The next day, I got a call from Brad of all people. Hey man, I just wanted to say, what happened at that dinner was messed up. I didn't know about the seating thing until after you left, and I should have said something. You barely know me, Brad. It wasn't your fight. Maybe not, but right is right. And for what it's worth, my dad was pissed about having to cover that bill. He gave Mason an earful about financial responsibility that I don't think your brother will forget anytime soon. A week passed. The calls had mostly stopped, replaced by a cold silence from my family. Then Mom showed up at my apartment. She looked older somehow, tired in a way I hadn't noticed before. Can I come in? I let her in, but didn't offer coffee or tea, the usual rituals of hospitality. She sat on my couch, looking around at my apartment as if seeing it for the first time. You have a nice place, she said. I've lived here for 6 years, Mom. You've never visited. I know. We sat in silence for a moment. Mason and Brooke broke up, she said finally. I heard. He's a mess. He might lose his apartment. I didn't respond. Your father thinks you should apologize. For what? For causing a scene, for embarrassing the family. And what about my embarrassment? What about the scene Mason caused by treating me like I wasn't even family? Mom was quiet for a long moment, and when she spoke, her voice was smaller than I'd ever heard it. I've been thinking about that night, about where you were sitting, and I realized I didn't even notice. I didn't notice my own son was sitting by the garbage until you left. That's the problem, Mom. You never notice me unless you need something. That's not true. When's my birthday? She paused. April. No, May. The 15th of June. When did I graduate from college? We were there. No, you weren't. You were at Mason's rehab family day. You said you'd make it to my graduation, but you chose him, like always. Tears were running down her face now. We thought you were okay. You were always so independent, so capable. Mason needed us more. No, Mom, Mason took more. There's a difference, and you let him. You both let him become this person who thinks he's entitled to everything while giving nothing. He's not a bad person. I never said he was. But he's selfish, enabled, and completely unaware of how his actions affect others. And that's on you and Dad as much as it's on him. So you're punishing all of us? I'm not punishing anyone. I'm just done participating in a dynamic where I give everything and receive nothing. I'm done being the family safety net that no one acknowledges exists. What do you want from us, Henry? Nothing. That's the point. For the first time in my life, I want absolutely nothing from any of you. And I'm giving nothing in return. Equal exchange. She stood to leave, then turned back at the door. The family reunion is next month. Will you come? Will I have an actual seat at the table, or should I bring my own folding chair? She flinched. Henry, that's what I thought. After she left, I felt empty but also strangely light, like I'd been carrying rocks in my pockets for years and had finally thrown them away. 2 weeks later, Dad called. His voice was all business. Your mother is upset. Okay. This needs to stop, Henry. Fix things with your brother. No. No? That's it? Yes, that's it. No. You're going to destroy this family over your pride? I'm not destroying anything. I'm just not holding it together anymore. If it falls apart without my money and silent compliance, then maybe it wasn't much of a family to begin with. He hung up on me. A month passed. The family reunion came and went without me. I saw the pictures on Facebook, everyone smiling, Mason center stage as always. I didn't feel regret. I felt free. Then one random Tuesday, I got a text from an unknown number. It was a photo of Mason at what looked like a food service job, wearing a uniform and hairnet. The message said, "Thought you should see this. He's working at the mall food court. Brad." I didn't respond, but I'll admit I felt something, not satisfaction exactly, but a sense of justice. Mason was finally experiencing what most of us call real life. 3 months after the dinner, Mom called again. This time her voice was different, softer, almost broken. Henry, I need to talk to you. Really talk. Can we meet? We met at a neutral location, a quiet restaurant downtown. She looked like she'd aged years and months. I owe you an apology, she started. A real one. Not for your father, not to keep peace, but from me. I waited. I've been seeing a therapist, she continued. After you cut us off, I was so angry, but the anger turned into something else. Guilt, maybe? I started really looking at our family, at how we treated you versus Mason. And I'm ashamed. Henry, I'm so ashamed. You were 8 years old when you started doing your own laundry because I was too busy with Mason's soccer. You were 12 when you made your own birthday cake because we forgot. You were 16 when you got a job to buy your own clothes because we spent everything on Mason's rehab. Mom. No, let me finish. You paid for my surgery. Do you remember what I said? Thank you, dear. That's it. My son paid $30,000 for my surgery, and I said thank you, dear, like you'd passed me the salt. But when Mason brought me flowers on Mother's Day with your money, I cried and called everyone to brag about what a thoughtful son he was. The tears were flowing freely now, hers and, I realized, mine. I don't know how to fix this, she said. I don't know if it can be fixed, but I need you to know that I see it now. I see you. I see what we did, and I'm sorry. I'm so desperately sorry. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. I'm not asking for forgiveness or for you to come back. I just needed you to know. We sat in silence for a while, 2 people navigating the wreckage of what family was supposed to be. How's Mason? I finally asked. Learning, she said. He's working 2 jobs now. Still angry at you, but also different. Reality is a harsh teacher. And Dad? Still thinks you're being dramatic. He may never get it. And you? I'm trying to be better. To see people for who they are, not who I need them to be. We parted without promises or plans to meet again, but something had shifted, slightly, in the space between us. 6 months after the engagement dinner, I got a letter, handwritten, Mason's messy scrawl. Henry, I don't know how to do this. Apologies, I'm not good at them, but Brooke said something before she left that stuck with me. She said I treated you like an ATM with a pulse. She was right. I've been thinking about that night a lot, about making you sit by the trash. It wasn't intentional, but that almost makes it worse, doesn't it? That I cared so little I didn't even think about it. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just saying I get it now, and I'm sorry, Mason. I kept the letter but didn't respond. Some bridges, once burned, are meant to stay ash. A year later, I heard through Brad that Mason was doing okay. Still working, living in a smaller apartment, dating someone new who apparently didn't tolerate his old behavior. Mom and I exchange texts occasionally, surface level but genuine. Dad and I don't speak at all. And me, I'm doing well, better than well. I joined a hiking club and made real friends who invite me places because they want my company, not my credit card. I'm dating someone who's never once asked me for money. I volunteer at a literacy center where I'm valued for my time and effort. Sometimes I think about that night, about sitting next to that trash bin, and I realize it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Rock bottom, it turns out, can be a solid foundation to build something new. Family isn't always blood. Sometimes family is the people who save you a real seat at their table, who notice when you're not there, who value you for more than what you can provide. Sometimes losing your family is how you find your real one. The last time I saw Mason was at a grocery store. We made eye contact across the produce section. He nodded. I nodded back. And then we went our separate ways, 2 strangers who happened to share DNA and a complicated history. And that's okay. Some stories don't end with reconciliation. Sometimes they end with acceptance, with boundaries, with the radical act of choosing yourself. I still have that sticky note, the one with my name that marked my seat by the trash. I keep it on my bathroom mirror as a reminder. Never again will I accept a seat at a table where I'm not valued. Never again will I pay for the privilege of being disrespected. Never again will I let family be an excuse for mistreatment. Because real family, the kind that matters, would never ask you to sit with the garbage while they toast to your absence. Real family saves you a seat at the table, right where you belong.